All right. Hey, everyone. Manny B Investing.
Everybody,
And
how's it going?
we have
Thank
the
you for
call
joining us
here.
here
Looks
today.
like we're going to go ahead and get
I'm
ready
just going to
and
go
get
ahead and give
started.
a quick recap of some of the things that happened in these
This is
last 2 weeks,
Wilson Davis.
and we'll take questions from there. So one of the kind of things that I was really excited to release, something that is kind of dear to our heart, is the donation that we made. To make that donation, and in regards to the rewards, the staking of that goes directly to the donation, and
So apparently, I can't record on the desktop app and the mobile app on my iPad Pro at the same time. That's really short-sighted. Now we got randoms going on video.
hey, sorry about that, guys. Just got kicked off there for a second. So I was just speaking about the donation that we made to the Drop for Drop and Grow Your Stake. So yeah, that was something that we were very happy to be able to give back to the community, and it's our first donation, so I would definitely expect more to come as we start to find projects and causes that we find very relevant to what we're doing. So that was a great one for us. So the next point would be our development updates. So we have been continuing, very well with our process. As many of you know, that we did have an adjustment to our timeline for the MVP, but since then we've been, very, very strict to stick with our internal timelines. So definitely happy to give another update that'll be coming next week about some of the details around the specifics of what we're doing, and happy to do that next week. So let's see here. The next point that I'd like to bring up is the staking update. So we announced that everything went well with our staking and that we had completed on our side, and currently it's just being sent to Hacken to do the auditing. We're definitely really happy to have Hacken be the people who are in charge of the cybersecurity aspect for the auditing. They're definitely veterans in the space, and they know a lot of have a lot of knowledge on their side. So we definitely want to give them the time to do everything that they need. But at this point, we're kind of just leaving it in their hands to do everything for the auditing. So we'll give you guys an update pretty soon to let you guys know about when the details of the exact date of the staking is going to be. So just stay tuned for that. And the last point that I wanted to bring up was something very exciting, probably the most exciting thing that happened in the last week. That would be Pbx Deflation. So we just yesterday burned 36 million Pbx. So that was just based on our calculations for the trading volumes of this last month. So that was definitely exciting to have that burn go into effect. And that equated to about $688,000. So we're definitely happy to keep that going as long as trading volumes are looking nice. And yeah, that's kind of the recap that I have. I did want to mention that we are also being joined. We have a special guest here today, and that guest is David. He is from cFund, and so he'll be able to answer some questions about some of the things that you might be inquiring. I know we had some situations or some comments last town hall that I think David would be perfect to answer, kind of give his insight and things like that. So I don't know if Dennis or Simon wanted to mention anything before we get going on questions, but we can get started with questions soon if you like.
Are they going to speak?
Does anybody have any questions?
You know I do.
Sure,
This man
go ahead,
here.
man.
So I just had just a simple question, little icebreaker. I noticed a lot of increase in traffic and a lot of new folks joining the Telegram groups. And I was just wondering if you guys are ready for all of that action that's coming our way.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely really excited to have, you know, a lot more eyes on us, and, you know, having people engage with, you know, what we're doing and everything like that. So I'm definitely really happy to see that. And I would say we're definitely ready to start to grow our base even more, for sure.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I'm a bit late today. Dennis here. Yeah, just to add to that as well, the growth in Telegram is bound to grow as the project's name is sort of out there and it catches more attention. But in general, as a community as well, we should be sort of more welcoming and open to questions. But I do expect a lot of questions on when exchange, when Binance, when price double, triple, etc. But just so our new members are aware as well, it's more about the potential of the project rather than today's price. So obviously it's hard to sort of keep off the trading charts and price movements on a day-to-day basis if you invested and you're looking to sort of grow your assets. But again, NFTs are a growing space and Paribus is at the crux of this, and this should be taken into consideration when asking questions, and rather than making the questions price oriented in general, let's talk about the project and the technology behind it, what we're planning to do, how we're planning to grow it, and so on.
Also, guys, don't forget, if you have a question today about how cFund has a view, like what the view of cFund is about the NFT space, feel free to ask David.
So when we can ask questions?
You can ask questions here right now.
Okay, so first question is, what exactly, how is your communication with Cardano? First question is, what exactly?
I had the echo, I missed the question. What's the question?
We hear echo.
I have a question regarding the technology behind the project. I know that the team chose to opt for Arbitrum that uses optimistic rollup. So my question is, has the ZK rollup option has been explored? And if yes, why did the team choose to go for optimistic rollup?
So the reason why we went for Arbitrum is because of TVO. That's locked on that chain, and the number of borrowing and lending platforms on there is actually very small. You have a lot of farms, but you don't have many. I think we were, when we chose Arbitrum, going to be the first borrowing and lending platform on there. So obviously there's value to be captured there. But our main goal is, remember, to not stay on Arbitrum, to actually become Cardano native. So this is an interim sort of phase, and we chose Arbitrum for this interim phase because of the amount of value that's locked on that chain, and because of the lack of competitors in terms of borrowing and lending.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question. There is this dispute period in Arbitrum, optimistic rollups in general, that can go up to 7 days. Any concerns in regards to people being skeptical about using the platform, having in mind this limitation?
You have some kind of limitations. For example, if you use a bridge to Arbitrum or from Arbitrum, or more like if you go from Arbitrum back to Ethereum. So like if you use, for example, the bridge and bridge over your PBX to Arbitrum, they will arrive there within 10 minutes. However, if you go back from Arbitrum to Ethereum, it can take up to 7 days due to the limitations or due to the optimistic rollups that are there. If that answers your question.
That's what I stated. My question was more if giving this can go up to 7 days dispute time frame, if the team has any concerns, because some people may see this as a deal breaker and choose to opt for other lending platforms, other products because of these limitations. If this is a concern for the team, and if it is, how is the team thinking of addressing this?
It's not so much of a concern because obviously that's just part of roll-ups. That's just how they work. And plus, any sort of loan or borrowing that you do against within Paribus is collateralized. So if there is sort of no way of taking a loan and disappearing with it because we still have your collateral and we can still liquidate it to keep the system in positive cash flow. So I don't think there is a concern on that side of things. Users themselves may have concern, but that's not a huge problem given how much value is being locked up on Arbitrum day by day. So there must be enough trust from the user base of that chain to sort of minimize that risk, if you want to call it that.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was cut off before because of the delay. So my question was, what is the rate of communication that you have with Cardano currently?
So rate of communication depends on our needs. I mean, we reach out to IOHK and cFund whenever we require any sort of networking or any sort of technical any sort of technical guidance that we need. So we don't really have a set rate. We just reach out on ad hoc basis. Sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's twice, once every 2 weeks. But regardless of the ad hoc queries, we actually have bi-weekly calls with cFund, who obviously has the necessary connections to introduce us to necessary people. So we have the standard bi-weekly calls with them, and then if anything rises in between, we just hit them up, and they are open and welcoming, and they've always been there when we needed them. So we haven't had any issues on that front.
And second question, I hold a lot of PBX, in my opinion, I don't know, for me, and I love the project. Seems very interesting to see how the future goes. Where will I be able to stake my PBX in the United States?
So the staking platform would run through Paribus.io. We would have a subdomain, so you'll be able to stake it on there. Initially, it'll be Ethereum based, but we're hoping we can push one of the exchanges to actually integrate with Arbitrum itself. So if they are able to do that, then what you can do to save on gas fees as well. For example, let's say KuCoin integrated with Arbitrum, you send it to Arbitrum. Sorry, you send it to KuCoin, and then when you're withdrawing, you withdraw from KuCoin to Arbitrum wallet, saving you gas fees. And if that integration is done, then we can obviously deploy the staking contract to Arbitrum as well. But the initial version would be on Ethereum mainnet.
So when are we to expect the Cardano mainnet integration?
So we're looking at, so we depend on our partner, DC Spark Milkomeda sidechain. So we're already on the testnet, so we're already playing around with what they have so far. And they are planning to launch their mainnet quarter 1, quarter 2 next year. So once they launch, we hope to follow suit and migrate over as soon as possible.
Oh, that's awesome, because I thought it will be, like, I saw some photo of a roadmap, and I thought it will be towards the end of December 2022.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have dependencies, but yeah, sure.
It should be probably Q1 of next year. There's already a test net for Milkomeda, and Nico who's extraordinarily competent, who's the former chief technology officer of Emergo, is building this, and the private testnet is up and running today. Actually, I think it was launched maybe last week, and I think the plan is to have a mainnet. I think January, February of next year. So very short order.
Wow. Okay. Big news.
I have a question around a few of those statements there. Is it Milkamita or Milkomita?
Milkomita, like the
That's
galaxies.
a good question. I think Milkomita sounds a lot better because Nico, when he told me, when he came up with this name, it was like the odd. It was a combination of the Milky Way and the what's the other galaxies called? The
Andromeda.
Yeah, it was Andromeda.
Andromeda galaxy, correct. So.
And also, is it Paribus or Paribus?
I mean, it depends on where you're from, I guess. I call it Paribus, but some people call it Paribus.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, that was difficult for me initially as well, just because I kind of say more Paribus, but I guess it does depend on where you live. So.
Yeah, I think when you were talking to Timothy on that call, you called it Paribus at one point, but I think you were just taking her accent.
Could have been. Yeah.
And in a more serious question around Milkomita, I notice a lot of buzz since you guys have announced your partnership, and a lot of like timelines moving up, and not just with this project, but with other projects relying on that sidechain. Was there a recent breakthrough with DC Spark or something that boosted the move up in the roadmap for the integration?
No, it just they always had this in mind. Nico usually beats his timeline on delivering product, and he took the best engineers from Emergo with him. These are probably some of the best engineers period working in Cardano. So he told me that if he wasn't fundraising, that he personally could roll this out within a month by himself. Everything.
Wow.
So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any
Question.
exchange listing soon?
Sorry. Sorry. I wish to know how big is the team behind Paribus, because I see this is such a great project and such a big one, and I would like to know like how big is the team, and if you work in partnership with your development team. So,
Yeah. So the team, obviously there's 3 of us as the C levels, and then we have a development team of 6 engineers at the moment. That's excluding our designer, who makes it 7. But that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to stay at this level, and we're not going to expand. Of course, with time and as the project gains momentum and it starts generating some traction in terms of usage and user base, the team will inevitably grow with it.
Yeah, for sure. And we also have our CPO, who's definitely really good in regards to the development side of things. And we also have a lot of really great advisors who help us feel like we have an even larger team than we do, because they're very accessible and help us out a lot. So.
I actually read a question or a comment on Reddit about the size of the team being too small for this project. I don't necessarily agree, because obviously we are a startup. We're trying to be lean as possible, and it's not about the numbers. It's about the quality of the engineers that you have in your team. So I think the number of engineers we have right now is the perfect fit to our size and to our capabilities. And as I said, as the project grows, the team will inevitably grow with it.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that. I mean, there's a general rule of thumb here in the Valley. I'm based in Silicon Valley, that for every one outstanding engineer you can hire, senior engineer, it's equivalent to bringing on 10 engineers. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So if you have 2 or 3 outstanding engineers full time working for you, that's equivalent to like quote unquote 30 engineers otherwise. Like, of course, you're going to pay a premium to have these these senior engineers, but that's generally the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So by this metric, Paribus now is running with sort of 60 heads capacity, because I'm assuming all 6 are great engineers.
I had another question around support from the ecosystem, and I want to reference a project Sunday Swap, for instance. They've been dealing with some roadblocks that aren't really their own fault. It's just the infancy of the network. I've noticed that Cardano kind of sees them, at least in my view, sees them as an important project, and I kind of get the same vibes with Paribus here. They kind of see the people, or the turtles kind of coming out of the sand headed towards the ocean, and they're kind of picking up the ones that have the best chance. Do you feel that same way? Are they willing to jump in and help?
Yeah, I think Paribus in general, across Cardano, across non-Cardano chains, is an important project because of what NFTs are today and what they could be tomorrow. Given its potential to unlock the vast amount of liquidity that are currently sort of locked into these alternative assets, it becomes quite apparent how much this solution is actually needed across the crypto universe. And yeah, within the Cardano ecosystem, I think it's one of those projects that, obviously I'm biased, I'm the founder of the project, but I think it's one of those projects that's going to sort of gain a lot of traction and gain a lot of user momentum because of what it can do for the ecosystem and what it can do for the users within that ecosystem. So we have been in contact with IOHK thanks to cFund, but IOHK actually started reaching out to us on an individual basis and private basis to actually start to sort of nurture us and see what we need, what sort of the needs we have to push the project quicker, if possible, onto Cardano mainnet. So yeah, I think we are starting to get the same sort of love and care that Sunday Swap is getting from a Cardano ecosystem, which is amazing, and we do appreciate everything that IOHK and cFund does for us.
I got a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
I was just wondering, regarding the burn, is there a specific time that you plan on carrying that on? And what kind of total supply do you expect to have after the burn ends, or will it be indefinite? Obviously, it can't last forever, can it?
So the burn is scheduled for the last working day of every month until foreseeable future. So we don't have a planned end date.
Okay.
The amount of burn depends on the sort of program that we came up with, which is how much PBX is traded over a month across all exchanges, and then we take a percentage of that through our algorithm and burn that. So it's very dynamic. I can't say to you it's going to be this much every month. But we expect sort of that metric to be consistent with what we've seen so far till date. And then in terms of the total supply and how long it's going to go for, as I said, we don't have an end date. But the way we're going to burn is going to be changing once the platform goes live, because we're going to start generating fees, and these fees will be used to buy back and burn PBX as well. So you won't be solely burning from the ecosystem funds, because we do have we do need to keep a certain number of tokens to sort of grow the network, whether that's through APY boost or partnerships, etc. So we do need the tokens as well.
So regarding once the platform launches, will it be sort of similar thing to say, Nexo tokens, where if you hold a specific amount of Nexo tokens in your account, you'll get a better APY on that thing that you'll buy the borrowing or lending.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So your interest rate would be better, your payback
Yeah.
rate will be better, all that stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you're kind of leading with NFTs, but will there be lending for basic cryptos, just say, even if you just wanted to hold your Paribus in there, or you wanted to hold your ADA or Ethereum or things like that?
Yeah, so the MVP is actually geared towards traditional assets, which is
Right.
either Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. And then once we wrap that side up with synthetics on top, that's when we start going to alternative assets, which is NFTs, virtual lands, and more.
That's wicked. Brilliant. Thanks for answering that, bud. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Hi, good evening. I have a question. As a follow-up, where you're talking about regarding the products you're gonna deliver, what can you tell me what are gonna be the guidelines to evaluate synthetics, NFT, and virtual land to calculate LTVs and all that?
Yeah, so the synthetics are sort of less easier to value because they do have an underlying asset that they are derived of. So we would use underlying assets and the exchange rate of the synthetic to come up with a valuation. So we could give you a sort of value on your loan and how much you can borrow. As for the NFTs, that becomes a bit more complex because NFTs are not so easy to value, and especially new NFTs. So we have a few mechanisms to handle this valuation for us. The first thing is the whitelisting. So you can't just create an NFT and then come to Paribus and then expect to borrow $100,000. The NFT that you're bringing to the Paribus platform has to have some sort of data history, some metrics around it that we have defined. We have defined 16 to 20 data points that we will utilize in our algorithm to value an NFT. And based on that valuation, you will get a loan amount that's set as your maximum. I won't go into the details of data points, but we are going to release white paper version. Sorry, we're on a light paper, so we will release a white paper where we're closer to launch with NFTs, which details out everything on how we value stuff, which data points we look at, and then that should give you sort of all the details you need. We don't make this stuff public just yet, just because I mean, we're one of the first to do this in this crypto universe, and we do not want our proprietary data to sort of be copied before we get the chance to implement it and push it out ourselves.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
I have a question around the NFT discussion. I did have a question about that, the whole, traditional asset borrowing and lending, that was answered. But what did you guys calculate as far as like the revenue splits or offer split? Like, is it 50-50 for traditional NFTs, or did you believe it's going to be 80-20?
At the moment, we're looking at 50-50. But again, this is subject to change. It's very dynamic and fluid, so things may change, but we're looking at 50-50 at the moment.
Okay. Follow-up question. As far as the tokenomics of the project, doing the burn, it just definitely seemed like it was something that you added on as a a bonus or reward for people that were getting into the project. But when you were originally designing this project and the tokenomics around it, did you anticipate burning tokens?
Yeah, if you actually look at Pbx token smart contract, it has a burn function built in. We had the burn mechanism thought out from the initial get-go because we want to drop the supply at a good rate where it's deflationary. So it was something that we definitely thought of before we even deployed the code, and it can be seen as per that method function in that contract.
Okay, cool. I have been doing research on borrowing and lending platforms, and I noticed one of the bigger ones, they had an issue with tokenomics after the fact because they didn't really anticipate how many tokens they would need and things like that, and they ended up having to basically like create a new token and airdrop everyone new assets. So I was just wondering if if we had, to worry about something like that, even though I know it's not something to worry about, it's a process that many projects do.
I don't think
Yeah.
you need to worry about that, to be honest. Like, I mean, even with initial economics, we haven't had in mind to do like this burn on trading volume. We were more leaning towards burn from protocol fees that are generated within the platform. However, we went through our token economics and we made this possible. It's the same with the staking reward that early. We were more in the idea about having staking once the platform is live and giving away the PBX that is generated by the protocol. But due to the demand from the community, we changed our plans. We changed internally how we work with the funds, and that's how we made possible to also like to have the staking earlier as well as the burn with depending on the trading volume.
Okay, perfect.
I got another question regarding staking, if that's possible.
Sure.
I was going to say, if people wish to leave the staking early, will then that still be locked, or will you be able to add to your staking if there's a certain amount? Just say someone takes out 2 million, will that 2 million be freed up for people to add or newly stake? Or will it be locked?
It would be locked, and the person who withdraws early would get a slashed penalty, which that penalty goes back into the pool and gets redistributed by those who are still in the pool.
So will that be revisited in a year, or will, when the actual platform goes live, will there be another form of staking perhaps?
We may have another form of staking, but this initial staking is essentially a way to give back to the community who is loyal to us and who's supporting us while we transition into, first of all, the MVP release, then the Cardano migration. So this is some sort of something that we're giving back to the community. It's a one-time thing that we're doing. But in a year's time, once Paribus gets the traction that it deserves and there is a large user base and we're generating enough fees, then we can possibly run another staking program that's sustainable.
Fantastic. Thanks, bud.
Okay. So David, I guess I will ask you a question. Obviously, we've spoken about this, and I know the gist of why it's happened and why you guys went ahead with it. But can you give like a brief overview of why you invested in Paribus and where do you see the NFTs going next?
Yeah, I think that's a question towards me, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay, it was you, Dennis. Yeah, so we really were, we think that cross-chain interoperability, particularly being able to leverage different assets such as NFTs, are really promising. And we landscaped a number of promising projects in Cardano and looking to do this. And one of our theses at cFund, in a particular way, financial, is in a number of years from now, like 2-3 years from now, interoperability or cross-chain interoperability is going to be a big thing. And so we wanted to get ahead of that curve and back promising teams, most importantly, and projects that we thought that aligned with that thesis. And so we were impressed with you, Dennis, and we were impressed with Simon and the rest of the team. And we were quite selective on who we want to back, particularly with who we have as our anchor LP, Charles Hoskinson. I do calls with him every other week, and we meet in person, et cetera. And so, just guarding him and and ensuring that we back what we consider the best that we've identified, and then helping bring these projects to market and accelerate their efforts. And so, long story short, we were just impressed with your hustle, the team, and how you guys thought about interoperability.
Thank you. Thanks for that breakdown. I just wanted to sort of get that out there because I want the community to understand the broader vision and what we're trying to do, because I think it's really important that our community supports us in that way. rather than short-term price action. Cool. Any other questions? All right, I guess not. So we'll end it a bit early this week, but we'll in the Telegram chat. So if you have any questions till the next chat, which is in 2 weeks, give us a shout. Just tag me, Simon or Wilson. We'll always be around to sort of help and answer questions around the project. But till next time, stay safe and take care.
Thanks everyone
Thanks,
for
guys.
joining.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank everyone. All right,
Yeah,
bye.
thanks.
Take care.
Pretty good call. A lot of good questions. Anticipated it being really crazy with all the new people, but it wasn't too bad. I feel like a overwhelming majority of the questions were appropriate. I wish, cFund would have been more of a center focus of the call. That would have been neat. But I do definitely understand he probably doesn't want to be tied directly to one project and get overwhelmed on his social media platform. So yeah, that was the screen recording. I wanted to record it on my iPad, but for whatever reason the apps are connected, and as soon as I launched it on my iPad it dumped it off of my desktop, as you will see in the beginning of the video. But thank you for checking out the channel. Hit that subscribe for more information on Paribus, live calls, discussions around crypto in general. Manny B Investing will see you on the next one.